Hi, we're Team 6.5 and today we will be looking at a performance analysis that we have conducted for our hotel Oceans11. We took the management contract for Hotel Oceans11 in January 2018 when the economic conditions of the market were below that of 2 and 3 years prior. Hotel Oceans11 has experienced a steady performance decline over the last 2 years. Due to competition in other cities, occupancy, average daily rate and gross operating profit have been eroded. In addition, finance and credit have been nearly impossible to obtain. Oceans11 lending bank closely observe operations, requesting monthly reports and financial statements, and remain critical of the hotel's operating cost structure. This year, however, economic conditions show significant improvement. According to market research, ADR growth is possible if a property can offer additional value in quality, facilities, and services. But even though the economy is experiencing an upswing, the regional travel and tourism marketing initiatives put in place to boost leisure tourism won't impact the leisure market until the second quarter of 2018. The business and corporate market, however, is instantly affected by this economic upswing. It is expected to have a moderate positive effect on business and corporate demand. In addition, the relocation of new corporate headquarters into the area is expected to further impact business and corporate demand. Furthermore, there is an expected increase in corporate contracts for long-term occupancies, an increase in demand for 3 to 4 day corporate and association meetings.
The positioning strategy of Ocean11 is low quality and low price. With the economic upswing, the leisure market is not immediately affected. However, the market for business travelers is highly affected and the demand for business travel is expected to rise. As for infrastructure projects in favor of business travelers, a conference center will be added in June. This will cater to the growing number of business travelers and further boost the demand of business travel. The airport authorities have also announced that there will be an increase in regional jet services through contracts with a new legacy carrier and a new discount airline, meaning that the cost for business travel will decrease, therefore further increasing the demand for business travel. As business travelers are described as discerning and frequent travelers, we believe that consistency and addressing satisfaction would be the key in making long-term management decisions that would efficiently benefit the hotel's performance. With the current financial situation, we did not have a significant amount of cash on hand after coming back from a period of financial uncertainty. Therefore, we did not invest in facilities as they would require a large capital investment, which is why we remain in the low quality segment. As we are aiming for financial stability after previously having poor economic conditions, we will implement a sustainable cost structure by maintaining a low price to improve our occupancy percentage and balance out our ADR. After deciding where we would position ourselves in the market, we moved on to setting our room rates for the first few months. When determining our pricing strategy for the first quarter, we analyzed last year's net rates and decided to increase them since the economic conditions were improving and there was an increased capital investment in the economy. We decided to opt for the strategy to maximize occupancy because we estimated that if we set our room rates slightly below our competitions, we could achieve a much higher occupancy, which would give us a favorable RevPAR. We could observe from past research that the first quarter would be the lowest in demand. This is another reason for our below competition pricing, so that we capture a large market share right at the beginning.
Throughout the year, we received several group requests, only 2 which we made an offer to. We calculated the minimum rate by calculating the space contribution that we would have if we accepted the group. Using this value along with a variable cost, we reached a rate. This method was used for the first and third request offers. The second was rejected since it required double occupancy in the room and that would not be good for our facilities, especially during high season.
$2,487,327 of net profit in 2018, as well as 45.75% of gross operating profit. This is what we achieved during the first year of operations as the management team of Hotel Oceans11. As seen here, we greatly improved the hotel's financial situation. We managed to increase our cash in bank by 1,288% in comparison to the previous year. In addition, we now have around $400,000 more than before in our replacement reserve fund. Thus, we succeeded in regaining financial stability after the crisis, and we now have a lot of cash on hand for future investments. Furthermore, our occupancy is now 14.95% higher than previous year, and our gross operating profit is even 28.75% higher. Our ADR increased by $28 and RevPAR by $43.63. This shows that we managed to attract more guests while increasing rates, resulting in a more profitable RevPAR. The big increase in gross operating profit also hints at our responsible spending behavior. We're looking at our worst and best month. We can see that the net profit in the best month is 598% higher than during the worst month. The revenue in the best month is even 92.15% higher than during the worst month. Therefore, while our revenue increased by nearly 100%, our net profit increased by nearly 600%, once again showing us a responsible and sustainable spending behavior. As the market occupancy index and market RevPAR index was always above 1, Oceans11 managed to keep attracting customers while saving costs and increasing net profits substantially. Now we will have a look at some KPIs. All in all, we are satisfied with the results we obtained. Once again, we can see, using solvency and debt equity ratios, that we financially stabilized the hotel this year and achieved high net profits without too much capital investment or the use of loans. Also, looking at the current ratio, we are more than able to meet our short-term obligations. We will now conduct a performance analysis to see what we did right and where we could improve.
In most months, our occupancy rate of weekdays are higher than the occupancy of the weekends. But only in June, July, August, and September, the occupancy rate of weekdays and weekends went in an opposite situation. These 4 months are the busiest months we have in the year. Therefore, we have our highest point of occupancy rate in August at 79.08%. During these 4 months, we get more weekend guests than the weekdays, as we have been notified that the major population coming to the city were changed to more tourists and groups than the business ones. The lowest appear in January at 59.39%, as we've just started our business without any attractive facilities or promotions advertised heavily. We know from the previous graph that our occupancy of weekends is higher than the weekdays during the high season. And here the ADR graph showed us the ADR for weekends is at a lower level from June to September. From our opinion, on one hand, we attract those weekend guests at a lower rate with maximized occupancy, but on the other hand, we kind of lost our opportunities for gaining more revenue. Also from this graph, we can see our maximizing occupancy strategy worked, as market share in first month, which should usually be low performing, is higher than rest of the year. We capture market share at the very first beginning, which is quite different from our competitors.
We'll analyze and compare the ADI by segment and the market share by segment. As you can see in the graph, the ADR for every rate type will increase and decrease simultaneously, accommodating to the overall demand and making only slight alterations for small changes in the demand for specific segments. By taking a look at the market share per segment, we can see that each of them had variations according to the market demand. By looking at the graph, our attention focuses on the package segment. The big peak in high season showed us that perhaps our market share grew so much because of our low rates. In the future, package rates should be increased during this time. In my segment, we can see how there is only a more noticeable opposite relationship in a general point of view. We decided to create a new KPI that could tell us how much we were spending in marketing compared to the rooms sold and the ADR of the month. MCPRS refers to marketing cost per room sold, and it is calculated by taking the marketing cost of the month and dividing it by the rooms sold that same month. Then we followed by converting this number into a percentage by dividing that dollar price into the average ADR of the month. This proportion helps us identify when we spend too much in marketing and if it was really working. The MCPRS line should remain flat if all the components of the KPI remain in a good balance regardless of the season. High season, higher marketing; low season, lower marketing, but not overdoing it as we see in the graph. The next analysis shows us how the marketing expense do not help drastically with the improvement of the market share.
Even though we increase our marketing expense in the first 8 months, the market share still fluctuate up and down. The highest point of the market share is 11.26% in January, and that's exactly when we spend our least money on marketing, as 18,700. The lowest market share happened while we were increasing our marketing expenses. When we decreased our spending on marketing from August to October, the market share went down as well. And this is the only period we could find a positive relationship of these two data. So we would say that the relationship between the marketing expenses and the market share is not obvious.
Graph, we can see that there was a steady increase in marketing expenses until August. Similarly, our total revenue has been increasing until September, where we hit our highest monthly total revenue of over $1.4 million. We can deduce that there's a causal relationship between our marketing costs and our total revenue, as when we reduced the expenses in September, the total revenue decreased correspondingly the following month in October. However, we can observe that during a lower demand season, such as Q4, although we increased our marketing expense, our total revenue continued to decrease nonetheless. This is why we recommend that the hotel should incur relatively high marketing costs shortly leading up to and during high season, where there is a causal relationship between the two sets of values. During low season, however, marketing expenses should be decreased, considering the weak impact it has on the hotel's total revenue.
Now we will compare the departmental income to the rooms income. As you can see, the rooms income increases with seasonality, while the income for the departments is relatively inelastic. The biggest sources of income for the other departments are guest room entertainment, guest room internet, and guest room laundry. The business center has an average revenue of $5,000 per month compared to much higher costs. Therefore, we will focus on that next. Now we look at the business center. The average income for the business center is $5,398 per month. This is compared to fixed costs of $8,750 per month in operation, which includes cost of sales, salaries, and other costs. In total, the business center accumulates a loss of $44,375 in a year.
Comparing the weekday versus weekend rooms sold can help us identify who our direct customers are. By separating these by channel, we can understand how these customers book. The most used channel by our customers is direct channels. This is a great advantage for Oceans11 because we can save in commission and discount costs and implement our loyalty program through our own channels. This fact might have been one of the reasons why our hotel was so successful and the best amongst its competitors this year. There's a significant difference between the percentage of rooms sold to wholesalers on the weekend and a decrease in bookings via direct channels. This could mean that wholesalers resell the rooms mainly to a market that shops for weekend deals. As expected, the rate with most presence in the year was the standard. This is understandable given the circumstances of the hotel. As seen in the chart, there's a big difference in rooms sold by contract on the weekdays and the weekends. Later on, Oceans11 could negotiate a contract rate with a bigger difference on weekdays than on weekends. As expected, rooms are both large and small group rates are most sold during the weekends.
Recommendations for Oceans11. First, keep positioning and pricing strategies and adjust when needed. Do not keep the same pricing all year round. Look at competitors' past ADR, for example, and try to forecast how their ADR will change in the upcoming quarter within the changes of demand. 2. Use cash in bank to make useful capital investments in order to improve the hotel by adding more facilities. However, it is not a must to have the most facilities in a hotel to compete with your competitors. 3. Adjust and increase weekend rates during high season, as occupancy rates for weekends are higher than those during weekdays during peak season. In order to prevent a missed opportunity, adjust to the pricing strategy. Try to have an above ORI and ARI, which is the best position to be in. 4. Steadily increase marketing expenditures from the beginning of the year until the end of high season, and then decrease expenditure again, for there's no clear correlation between marketing expenditures and total revenue after the high season. As we were spending an estimated $30,000 per month on marketing, we decided to decrease the amount for the fourth quarter. During this time, we also decided that it was best to do our refurbishments during this last quarter and make sure it wasn't during peak season. This is because we wanted to take advantage of all the possible available rooms, as these refurbishments and renovations would create rooms out of order and therefore diminish the amount of possible occupancy and then evidently make Oceans11 lose profit. 5. Consider getting rid of the business center since it creates a loss. However, guest satisfaction needs to be considered as well. This is why we should invest in a more profitable type of business center to decrease the monthly investment that Oceans11 has to make. For future investments in facilities, there should be more research done in what the clientele expects during the overall year, and not only the quarterly demand, as each facility is a very highly priced investment and must be considered carefully before adapting to it. All these recommendations are for Oceans11 to continue their profit stream for the next year, because as we know, revenue management is all about maximizing profit.